Time is X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode or edition of the Rocket Hour. My emoji that I put as my name, we're going to get to in a little bit. It's not the best news as to why I put it, but we'll talk about it. Aaron, again, went simple. So I guess we'll have to expand on mine. It's been a really, really nasty week around the country in terms of weather. I sent Aaron a picture of what my apartment looks like, and it's not pleasant. Aaron didn't send me a picture of his, but I know what that area is going through. And it's kind of just made its way northeast. So, Aaron actually asked me if Aqueduct's going to run tomorrow. I was brutally honest and said probably not. Unfortunately for us, we've already handicapped the card, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's also it's just unfortunate because I think we're down to 3 tracks again today. Luckily for us, Gulfstream is running, and we could do a show if Gulfstream wasn't. I don't know if we'd be on here right now. Aaron, we'll do the rocket launch in a little bit. How was your night? Anything that stuck out to you? Anything that you watched on TV? Anything good and dandy? Try to bring up the spirits here.
The wife and I have been watching all the Mighty Ducks movies because a new one is coming out on March 25th or 7th, I think. So we've watched D1, 2, and 3. So yeah, we finished the trilogy, if you want to call it, last night. So listen, 3 tracks running today: Gulfstream, Fairgrounds, and Turf Paradise. Pretty crazy. Down to 3 after I think we had 8 or 9 scheduled to run. February in horse racing, it's always tough. It looks like next week's going to be a hell of a lot better, so we'll just have to get through this week. But listen, we're here. We're covering Gulfstream. Everybody, these pools should be massive at Gulfstream today, and we're on the turf. So there's a lot of positives for the show, and thank God we cover Gulfstream on the show.
Yeah, we don't always love covering Gulfstream because I'm not going to get into it. But for the purpose of this show, yes, it's vital that we do because, again, we probably wouldn't be on here. So it's definitely nice that Florida, yes, they have their monsoons once in a while and it ruins the rest of the day, but it should be nice there today. So that's going to get us a show. We'll do a couple rocket launch subjects or information talking points. One is horse racing related, and one's college basketball related. And I'm excited to talk to you about that. We'll do the horse racing one first because that's what we do here. I wanted to bring up something that I think was put out maybe this morning or late last night, and Aaron, you can clarify. It was the Kentucky Derby article that you write, and I'm showing it here. I'm not going to go through all of that. Please go to the website and check it out. Aaron does a great job. It's a pro, con, and an outlook. It's really, really simple, and he ranked them basically on what he thought. This is not a right or a wrong list. I'll quickly scroll. Maybe you guys can see. I'm not going to go through them all. One of the things I did want to do with Aaron, and we'll play a little game, any horse outside of the top, we'll say top 10, is there a horse that either you didn't get a chance to write about that you're looking forward to, maybe a first-time starter, probably a little late for a first-time starter at this point, maybe there's one, or a horse that you didn't get a chance to write about that you're super, super excited to talk about now or moving forward. I have a couple in mind, so I'll pick another one that you may or may not have chosen. So I'll let you start. Anyone outside of the top 10 in this article that you could find on racingdudes.com.
Well, the top 10, if you're limited to the top 10, I think I have Concert Tour at 11 and I have the Great One at 15. So those would be 2 that I really think you need to look at. I'm beginning to believe Concert Tour might be Tough Luck Bob's maybe second best horse. And this horse is on the same path as Nadal, who shipped Oaklawn and won the Rebel in a version of the Arkansas Derby last year. So Concert Tour, I'd take a look at. The Great One, I just think this horse has figured it out. Doug O'Neill's got this horse figured out. I would look for him. San Felipe is where he's going to run March 6th. Take a look at him. Going to be in a really tough race, but I think he's a horse that's really improving. So those are the two I'm looking at that I think could climb up the ladder relatively quickly with their next starts. If you even went deeper outside the top 20, a horse I'm very skeptical of, but also a bit interested in is Drain the Clock, who is going to be stretching out in distance for the first time in the Fountain of Youth. We had similar kind of question marks about horses like this in the past there at Gulfstream, but what I'll say is Drain the Clock has good early speed. I think he'll get good early position. I'm still skeptical, like I said, but I think Drain the Clock is one you need to keep an eye on, because if he can get those 2 turns at a mile and 16th at Gulfstream, isn't the hardest for a sprinter to get, he might have a say in things.
Yeah, that's a good point. You took one of mine, and that was the great one. The other one we didn't talk about was Roman Centurion. I think we were both really high on him coming into the Robert B. Lewis, and there was nothing in that race that discouraged me. I believe Roman Centurion on your list is 12, so we'll show you. And the biggest pro is exactly what you said. He seems to be improving with each race. The buyer speed figures aren't fine. Luckily for us, I don't care about buyer speed figures. That's personally not my way about it. And he probably should have won that race. But he does seem to be getting better, which is encouraging. So that would be one. There was another one that now I can't seem to get on the top of my head. Oh, Prevalence. Mm-hmm. That was outside the top 20, and we don't really know about him in terms of, as you guys can see, if you're not seeing it, I'll just kind of basically break down what Aaron said real quick. Incredible debut with upside and 2-turn pedigree. I agree, and that's, I'm looking at 2 horses that I think can get better, right? So mm-hmm. I think Roman Centurion definitely can get better, but we kind of know what he is. Prevalence, we really don't know. So it's one of those situations. Does he go from here and go to the Fountain of Youth and win? It's going to be a tough ask. I mean, that, of course it is. Like, he's going to face winners for the first time, and he's doing it in a stakes race. Not only is he doing it in a stakes race, he's doing it in a graded stakes race. So, yeah, I think it was, you guys were talking about Brennan Walsh, mm-hmm. I think, right? And, like, he loved this horse. I've never taken, Brennan Walsh is not Bob Baffert, where he has 40 of them, and all 40 are going to get talk. If Brennan Walsh brings up a horse like this, that is something that we consider. So, those are the 2 that I looked at. But again, take a look at the article that's online. Aaron does a great job with it, and it's really, really quick. It's not like too detailed. And if you obviously want more information, you can always go to Equibase or do your own research. But Aaron really just does his top 1 through 20, which is really, really nice. Just gives you an idea of what we're looking at, what they've done, maybe some upside, their downsides, and ultimately what to look for with these 20. And again, Aaron just gave you Drain the Clock, not even in the top 20. The other thing I want to talk about is all these college basketball cancellations. What's going to be, I wanted to ask you, what's the situation going to be come the NCAA tournament if a team tests positive or something like that? Like, do they forfeit? Are they going to delay the whole tournament? And the other point, basically what I'm getting at is, what would you do, or what should they do from your perspective? And the other question is, why would you play in your conference tournament? Because you need 7 negative tests. Everyone needs to test negative 7 times in a row. So if you're a team, not say Gonzaga or Baylor, but if you're even in Oklahoma, where you should be in, what is your upside to play in that conference tournament, knowing you're probably not going to beat Baylor anyway? What's your upside? Because if you test positive, you might not be able to play in the NCAA tournament. So just, if you can, just touch on a few different points. Maybe people are interested. I was curious to know your opinion.
Well, you got 68 teams now with the play-in games, right? And if 67 of them are negative and 1 is positive, you can't really delay it for just the one team, right? So I think you kind of have to just move on with the tournament and call it a day for that team that's negative. Listen, I think it's a huge problem. I was talking to my dad about this the other day with Oklahoma's perspective. It's like, what is their motivation to play any more games this year? Their stock is as high as it's going to be probably. When you look at their schedule coming up, it's very difficult. They're going to lose some games. What's their motivation to really play at this moment? Not much. I think what the NCAA should try to do is build in a week where none of these teams play. Right now, do it. Whether that be we're skipping conference tournaments this year, or whether we're gonna eliminate 3-4 games in the schedule, move up the conference tournaments, and then we're gonna have a break right after them. I would do everything I could to get everybody healthy and where we don't have problems with that tournament, because it's a real issue. Like right now, okay, big deal. Where we lose a week of basketball for certain teams because of positives. You can't do that in the tournament. So to me, I would try to build in a week here where we don't have games and we get everybody healthy.
So yeah, I don't disagree. That's one thought. I have two thoughts. One, I think like the Ohio Valley Conference, I saw Drake play Loyola Chicago on a Saturday, and then they also played Sunday. That's brilliant. They should have every team should have had back-to-back, whether it's Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is, 2 games that weekend. So you're not traveling and you're playing those teams twice. So maybe Drake doesn't get Loyola Chicago doesn't get to host Drake at home, but they played them twice. That's what every conference should have done. That's one. The other thing is, I love your ideas. It's just too late. And that's the problem with not having an overall commissioner. Like, you have a commissioner for each conference, and we're stuck with conferences doing their own thing. If you had an overarching body or an overarching person or a committee, whatever it is, this is what we're doing. We're not doing conference tournaments, or after the conference tournaments, we are building a week into the schedule, a Monday through Sunday, where no one's playing. You can take your time getting to Indianapolis because the whole tournament is in one central location, which is smart. But right, this you can't figure this out on February 18th. When the conference tournament started 3 weeks. And, there's a comment here, sucks for us, Cardinals are an 8 seed, haven't played since February 1st. I don't know if they're going to make the tournament, just because we don't know if they played enough games. And Louisville might have 1 game left on the schedule. They're probably going to lose that one after not playing for a month. A few other Gonzaga and Baylor considering opting out. Yeah. Why would you play? There's no point.
And again, it's not just them. Why would Oklahoma play in it?
Right, for them, it actually makes sense. I would want to play because I think they could win the whole thing. If you're a team like Oklahoma and you're going to be realistic, you're probably not beating Baylor, most likely, because we both think they're miles ahead. Dennis said, should they shorten the field to just 32? You're losing millions and millions and millions of dollars, and it's too late. You can't just do that now. That would have been something that would have had to be decided over the summer.
Yep.
And good luck telling CBS, TNT, TBS, and True TV that they're going to lose a good amount of their games, especially the first 4. So yeah, I don't think there's a right answer. I was just curious because I'm a big college basketball guy at heart, and I know you're an Oklahoma football guy, but obviously you're Oklahoma basketball as well. So I knew it was a point that was, I thought, poignant. And right, basically, if you're college football come next September, let's get a committee group in charge that's overarching for everyone. Well, let's not just have each commissioner doing their own thing. Maybe we can eliminate some of these issues. Enough with the rocket launch, because that was probably enough for today. Let's go to some Gulfstream stuff. That's why we are here. This is, Aaron brought up a really good point earlier. Maybe the sequence isn't great, but at least they're running on the surface that they were scheduled to run on, which certainly helps everyone. We'll start with race 7, and I'll throw it to Aaron first. This is maiden special weight for 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile on the turf, 8 furlongs, 2 turns, all that good stuff. You can read more details about it. I thought this was interesting because I saw a first-time starter that I liked. I saw a few horses that have upside. Aaron, I'm going to throw it to you. Were you interested in any first-time starters, or did you go with experience? How did you kind of look at this one?
Yeah, I thought this was a really, really good race. A very entertaining race just to kick off our sequence that we're going to talk about here. And yes, I did like one first-time starter. I did a 50-cent trifecta box, 1, 4, 9, 11. I think it sets up perfect for that. I'll start with the first-time starter that I like to kind of keep us on the same wavelength here. I liked the 9 World Tour. I thought this horse, had a lot of solid workouts coming into this. I really like the breeding. I really like, Bill Mott used to be a guy. It's like, first time out, I'm not sure. he's kind of reversed that trend over the last couple of years. I'm not so afraid to play him first out. We've touched on Mott and Alvarado teaming up and doing well, countless times on this show. So I really thought this filly by Tourist would be interesting in this spot. It was not my top choice. I put her in third. Deemed Essential for me was an interesting one, and who I put on top for Todd Pletcher, making the turf debut today. Kind of got a turfy pedigree somewhat here. Hasn't been great on the dirt. I think the surface change makes sense. And Javier Castellano gets aboard, and you got to think Javier is really eager to get riding again. I know he was riding a little bit yesterday, but you got to think he's going to be really motivated and riding hard to get a win. I'll touch just real quick on the other two horses that I used, the 1 and the 11, starting with the 1, Money for Row, moving up in class, but keeps the jockey aboard, so that's good. And definitely was the best race that this filly has shown last time out in that $35,000 maiden claimer. Also was at the same distance, as what today's race is at. I thought that was the thing that kind of pushed me over the top and said, yeah, I'll use her right back here. Last time out really had no speed early out of the gate. I kind of hope we see a little bit more. It needs to be a little more forwardly placed than that. And if so, I think she's a horse that could turn the tables here and get a win. And then the 11. The 11 gets a big rider upgrade today from Lannery to Saez. Saez McPeak combo, really, really good. He doesn't ride for McPeak. He being Luis Saez doesn't ride for McPeak often, but when he does, they win at an alarming rate, right? Last time out was the first time on the turf, so now second time on the turf, jockey upgrade. I thought the 11 made a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, you pretty much took all my horses, so luckily all I have to do is tack on. Real quick, someone said conference tournaments were always just a money grab, should be regular season champ. Yeah, I don't disagree. Sure, everyone's about making money. I think that's fair. I went with the 1, 9, and 11, and I'll scroll down because I'm going to talk about a couple of these horses. I'll start with the 1, Money for Row. Porque No came back and won again at the starter optional claiming level, so I think that race will come back a little bit better than people might have expected. That's 1. 2, all those races that she had won finished with a runner that came back, so you could see in her debut, this horse Gotego, who I don't know anything about, came back and won, stretching out. And then Porque No came, like I just said, came back and won. So that race, her career looks like it was just kind of a hard luck, honestly. So I like her. I do want to touch on the 4, but afterwards. But I'll talk about the 2 horses. World Tour. Yeah, I mean, you want to go against Bill Mott, good luck, because right now, I think in percentages, or the top trainers with multiple races, not just 1 or 2, it's Danny Gargan at like 39%, then Bill Mott, then Todd Pletcher. So for some reason, Bill Mott seems to go under the radar. Don't understand why. He's ahead of Todd Pletcher, and obviously Junior Alvarado getting aboard is nice. I don't like first-time starters almost 99% of the time going 2 turns on the turf because it's extremely brutal. It's tough. But this horse was able to do 5 furlongs, which to me, on the turf, that's an indication she should be able to handle it. Most trainers are kind of like, we'll see what she does, or he or she does in the spot. That to me gives me some confidence that she'll be able to do it. I also want to talk about the 11. Everything you just said, this horse belongs going 2 turns, maybe even longer than this, 2 turns on the turf. If you look at the pedigree, it says Ireland, Ireland, Ireland. That is an indication of grass or turf, whatever you want to call it, and distance. Those horses can run for days. I wouldn't be surprised to see her go longer if she can't win here. And you can see she doesn't really have a ton of early speed. The only time she did was on the dirt. I want to talk to you about the 4 a little bit. Deemed Essential. This is my problem. I have 2, but I guess 1 is a little bit more important than the other. I hated her stretching out last time out. She was brutal. but she wasn't good really. I mean, she wasn't bad in her 2 dirt races sprinting. So I'm not sure if I hate her more because she's going 2 turns again, or at Gulfstream it was a 1-turn mile, but most places aren't. Or if she really wants the grass. And if she really does want the grass, then what did it take 4 starts to get her? There are just too many question marks. And I think this is a play against with a Pletcher and a Castellano for me, because I like the 1, the 9, and the 11 make more sense. Unless you don't like first-time starters, then I think you could substitute the 4 for the 9. Were those concerns for you in terms of why now the grass? Like, do they know what they really want with her? And it's the stretching out that it didn't seem to work. Were any of those concerns for you?
Yeah, the 3 times not on the grass was a bit of the one pause for me, for sure. I do think this horse makes sense that this horse would want the grass. I went back and watched a couple of the replays, and it did. I don't know. It just looked like the horse was struggling to get footing on the dirt. So I'm confident the horse likes the grass, but I am a little bit, or should like the grass, I should say, but I am a little skeptical of why they haven't tried. Yeah, the race last time out, I don't know. The horse, I don't know if it was the mile so much as just the horse was just kind of wild in that race. And that's not really what we had seen from her. I just kind of drew a line through that one. I just didn't think she looked quite right. Gosh, you hate when a 7-5 runs like that, right? Like this horse just didn't seem to have any interest in running that day. So I kind of just drew a line through that one. And the hope is that, hey, the connections are solid. First time grass should help this horse. And for a trifecta, I really don't want to get beat by this horse, hitting the board. And it's like, wow, I lost the trifecta because I left off Pletcher.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. The only reason I paused is, there's a comment, what happened to Saez yesterday. I was just trying to look it up. I just saw, I think Mike Welsch said that he was off all his mounts. I don't know if it's a COVID thing, Aaron, maybe I was trying to look it up. I'm not really sure, but I would probably venture to say it is. The only reason is because I don't remember him getting hurt, and it was a last-minute thing. And usually last-minute thing is a test came back, and that's one of those situations. Is there anything you want to add to that, or do you know what the answer is?
I don't think it's that, just because I think I would have saw it. I'll be honest, I just saw the tweet when it happened that he's off the mounts, and I didn't really ever follow up on it, but I think I would have heard about it by now, and I don't think he would have been racing today. One note that it just came across that Jose Ortiz is off all mounts today. And I don't know why that is either. I'm looking into that. It just got sent to me. So I'll look into that as well to see what's going on there.
Yeah, we'll try to get maybe not the Luis Saez thing, because again he's riding on the 11 Semble Just or Juice, whatever. So yeah, maybe it's not a COVID thing. Maybe it's honestly could have like fallen and twisted his ankle. Like we have no idea. But he's riding today, so that should ensure confidence today. I'll talk about race 8 as Aaron tries to do some background research, try to get us an answer there. I'll give him some time. We're going to move on to race 8. One scratch, and that's a 7 Dardanellos. I'll start first. I'll talk about it, and then I'll let Aaron go. This is allowance optional claiming 12,500 for Florida bred 4-year-olds and upward, going 1 mile on the dirt. I told Aaron before we hopped on. I said this race is horrible. And I think the 7 Dardanellos really should have allowed people to kind of single in on a few horses. I went with the 1 and the 8, Gangley and the 8 Green Mansions. And I don't think you need much more. Maybe the 6, please sit down. I'll talk about Gangley for a minute. This horse finished second by a half a length at the starter level, 25,000 last time out, going 7 furlongs. I think based on that race, and maybe even the one before that, going 6 furlongs should help this horse. He has not done well going a mile in the past, so that's what makes me concerned a little bit. But it seems like they're trying to stretch this horse out little by little. And ever since he left Ron McQuet's barn and has gotten to Robert Hess, his performances have seemed to get better and better. So I think there's upside. And I think this race, honestly, is a little bit worse than the starter allowance level last time out. So I think he's a strong play and a reliable one at that. The other horse that I think we should take a look at is the 8 Green Mansions. This horse ran at this level last time out. It was last year, so we're now 2 months, I guess, off a layoff. Nothing crazy. He probably should have won as a favorite, but he was a 2-1 favorite, which is not strong. I think once you get to 2-1, 5-2, 3-1, those are like what I would call lukewarm favorite. It's not like they have to win. I don't know the odds. I could pull it up as we're talking about it, but 2-1 is like not a dominant favorite. And he only lost by a neck. He was closing ground, going a mile. We know he could handle that distance. I'm interested to see how he does for Amador Sanchez here. Only 1 start for Jorge Delgado, and I think this is where he belongs. Again, I forgot there was a horse we talked about last week. As long as Amador Sanchez doesn't do anything negatively, this horse should run pretty much the same race. So I think you can get away with the 1 and the 8 from my perspective. Aaron, we'll maybe talk about something else. Real quick, Aaron, before I throw it to you, any news on Jose Ortiz, or were you not able to find anything?
No, nothing yet. And there was nothing on Twitter about Saez either. So you got me right now. I'll keep looking in between my takes on the races. Yeah, listen, this race, I don't love it. I do think you're right, though. I think the 1 and the 8 are the uses here. I went $10 to win on the 1. It just seems like this horse should get the job done finally here, right? And I say finally because it seems like the horse should have got the job done last time and didn't. And then 2 back just got smoked, but got smoked by a horse that was a little bit better than what he's going to see today. So I like Gangley here. It was my $10 win wager. It seems like a really just a Ricky P type of horse from the fact that this horse is very consistent. Usually if this horse is entered, he shows up and runs a decent race. Another horse you didn't talk about that I'll touch on real quick is the 6, Please Sit Down. I thought this horse was interesting. It's weird because this horse definitely has a turf pedigree, being by Gio Ponte. So it's like, okay, I see why they ran him on the turf 3 million times. The horse has just improved, simply improved on the dirt. No way around it. 2 races back, 1 at a very low level. But last time out, moved up in class, 12-1, and almost won. Got beat ahead at the starter allowance level. I thought he could sneak up and kind of make some noise here as well. So I did like the 6 a bit. The 3 also I liked a little bit. Dark Ages. Just saw that win last time out, and it's like, well, that's better than what a lot of these horses have done in their last starts. But again, you kind of get into that can a Florida bred win 2 in a row, and we talked about that at length yesterday. So that's kind of the worry about the 3. Can he replicate that race last time out? Did you think about the 3 or the 6 at all?
I didn't use the 6 at all, but it's interesting to know. Please sit down. A lot of teachers told me that in my year. Please sit down. Just sit down. When I was younger, so that I probably should have used that one. That was probably telltale sign. I did use the 3, but again, like I almost like the 8 better because the 8 didn't win. Like I don't like horses that are coming back and trying. To me, it's like at 11-1, almost 12-1. With the 3, it's like now I think, what did Mike Samich say, is like, if you weren't there for the wedding, you're going to play for the funeral. I don't know, something like, I probably botched it. But nonetheless, it's like, yeah, so I'm going to take 5-1 now. No thanks. There are a few comments I want to get to before I talk about a couple other horses. Jose Ortiz only had 2 mounts. He went to the beach. I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he did that, but I don't think that's what he did. Did the 4 freak out or what happened? I know exactly what happened. I'm sure Aaron will agree. Started his career on the turf and finished after 6 furlongs, which meant there was something wrong with him, right? You don't. If there's an 8 furlong race, they don't tell you to stop after 6. Unless I've never been a jockey, but I'm pretty sure Miguel Vasquez didn't say, all right, we're done. So there was something wrong. Then he came back and tried the dirt. That was his first start since July. So a lot of horses run well second time off the layoff, not dropping down in class, running, at the same level. Yeah, second off the layoff on his obviously his better surface. I think it's pretty easy. And he was 8-5. I don't know how he wasn't the favorite. I don't remember that race off the top of my head, but clearly was a weak field. Yeah, so that's what happened. And a lot of times at the maiden claiming level, we do want to point out these horses quit. If they're back by 3 lengths, they're not chasing anyone. What are they going to do? They're just going to fall back and say, all right, another day. I'll try another day. So that's what happened. I mean, he took the lead. You could see from, what is that, like the quarter pole to the half, he was down by a length and was up 10. I mean, at some point, I don't know what the other horses were doing, but they clearly wanted no part of that race. Again, I don't know who the favorite was. The favorite must have been horrible. So I think that's what happened with the 4. Yeah, it's your second time off the layoff on his better surface against really crap horses. And then Jody Powers says Saez already had COVID earlier this year. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's not COVID. I don't know. I was speculating. Don't take what I say seriously. I have no idea. And it could have been one of those things where, yeah, maybe it wasn't COVID, but it could have been like a contact tracing thing or a false positive. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just guessing. Again, maybe he twisted his ankle. Anything before we move on? We talked about the 4. You talked about the 6, who, yeah, is doing better on the dirt, but I think you could do better. Do you want to talk about the 4 a little bit? I don't think you got a chance to do that.
Yes, on the 4, here's what I'll say. The 4 got a 92 time form, right? So that's actually a point less than what he got when he finished 4th, like beating 6th that race last time out that you referred to, or the first race off the layoff that you referred to. The next best horse in that race earned a 66, which don't look at time forms like you look at buyers. Like that's almost saying the horse got like a 46 buyer. So that just signals your point of, yeah, like visually that was really impressive to win by 16. Obviously that always is, but this horse was just facing horses that just totally quit in that race. Almost every horse in that race ran a lower speed figure that day than the race previous. So it may have been a situation where the 4, just like Mike, was the best horse in that race. And then combine that with the fact that everybody else just didn't show up. And then you got this big margin. I would be surprised if we see this horse win in this spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now facing winners for the first time. And this isn't a horrible, like this isn't 62-50 claimers. You'd assume that if this 4 got to the lead again, they're not going to quit behind him. Mm-hmm. It's possible, but I think this is a good enough level where they won't do that. It's also interesting, you know, one of the things that I like to look at, what do trainers do or connections do after a race like that? This is not a level where he should be running at based on that effort if the times came back. So this is not an aggressive spot, which means Armando de la Cerda or the connections, Teresa and David Palmer, know that he's not probably that good. You know what I mean? Like, if they should have stepped him up into like a starter optional 25 based on that, honestly, because when you win by 16 1/4, they also know that he's not that good. So I think that's also interesting. They know better than us how good he is. Right. So I don't know. We'll see, but I think the 4 is a horse that'll take money because it's IRAD and the race was visually pleasing. I agree with Aaron. Let's move on to the 9th race. Allowance optional claiming $16,000 for Florida state bred 4-year-olds and upward, going about 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Don't know why we can't try a mile. They're insistent on about 7.5. Aaron, I will throw it to you. What did you think of this race? There is a scratch, the 1 Plenum and the 9 Manavision. What were your thoughts here?
Yeah, thankfully the scratches didn't really hurt me. I didn't really consider either one of those. Okay, this race really centers around the number 7 Croy, right? Like the horse really stands out on paper. The problem with Croy is we haven't seen his best in a little while, and especially when you talk about his turf races. It's been a while. It's been at least 6 months before you could walk away from a race and say Croy ran pretty well. He also has pretty spotty form as far as entries, right? He doesn't enter a lot. He's been claimed a lot. But I put him on top because I think he's back in the Danny Gargan barn. They claimed this horse last time out. Going to throw him right back in here. That's got to be a positive. So I think it's kind of almost, at least at this level, it's kind of a now or never for Croy. Like you need to win here. You really don't have a lot of excuses. So I did put this horse on top, but overall, I just wasn't confident enough to play a win wager. So I went with a trifecta box 3, 6, 7, 10 in here. I like the 6 second. The 6 is definitely a consistent horse. The horse 2 races back in a similar spot as today and actually finished ahead of Croy in that race. Last time out, moved up to open company and a starter allowance. Didn't run horrible, but just okay. Finished 5th, but I think getting back against Florida Breds today will be what the 6 wants to do. The 3 JP Hellish, definitely moving up in class, right? But consistent. 3 really good, consistent races in a row. Ricky, I don't know if you used him as far as your ticket, but for what I'm trying to do, kind of feel like this horse can hit the board and do it at a price. So I thought the 3 was definitely one that I needed to include. And then the other logical one certainly is the 10 Freedom Matters. I mean, this horse is definitely, again, a Ricky P type of horse, just there all the time. Always there, always hitting the board. Finished 2nd or 3rd in the last 4 starts. And again, for what I'm trying to do with the trifecta, this definitely is a horse that makes sense to play.
Yeah, excuse me. I completely agree about the 10, and I used the 10. I went 5, 6, 7, 10. I didn't use the 3. Real quick, to Aaron's point, I just don't see him as a win candidate. So if he's going to finish 3rd, that doesn't help me at all. Might help him, and that's great. It's just not going to help me. The 7, yeah, I was hoping you didn't say what I was going to say now. Yeah, he's getting back to Danny Gargan. I mean, his best form recently, again, maybe what he was doing when he was 3 or 4 might be better. I didn't look that far back. But his best form as of late, since at least last summer or last May, June, was in Danny Gargan's barn. So it's one of those things where these trainers that are so good, they're like, all right, I got Croy back. I know exactly what to do with him. Like, so Danny Gargan, he's in this spot. Yeah, no offense to Robertino Diodoro or Keneally, but they didn't get this one to improve from Gargan at all. So I love that move, and I think we're going to see the best Croy we could see at this point. He's not going to be the Croy that was running last June at Gulfstream, but he still can run in a race like this. You used the 6, my point exactly. I don't disagree. I don't know what the heck happened last race. I'll be honest. But it's IRAD, going to take money. I wouldn't be shocked if that horse was the favorite. The 10 Freedom Matters, yeah, my type of horse. This is a race I want to see consistency. The tougher levels, I don't care about consistency as much because I have a better idea. At this type of level, Florida bred, I want to see them run 2nd, 3rd, 4th by a few, or winning a race here and there. That's what the 10 does. He's always close. So that's the 6, 7, 10. The one horse you didn't talk about that I'll touch on is the 5, Moni. I don't know what the heck that horse's name is. Doesn't matter. I look at this race and I say there's a ton of speed. If we look at the legitimate speed candidates, your 3, JP Hellish, will probably be on the lead. The 4, Ballistico, probably close. The 6, my point exactly, will be close. The 7, Croy, will battle the 3 for the lead. The 8, Super Jaguar, will be for the lead. And the 10, Freedom Matters, will be on the lead or close to it. Where does that leave good old Moni, the 5-year-old by Scat Daddy? He will probably be out of your picture. No joke. This horse might be way out of the picture. This horse is a long shot. I get it. And I'm probably going to be screwed, and it's probably going to be the 6, 7, 10. But with all that speed, all that pent-up energy in this race, I think we could see a legitimate 22-4, 23-1 type of pace, maybe 23-2. that's going to set up for a horse like this. We're going to find out if he could run at this level because on paper, he'll be last with a ton of speed. A lot of horses want to get to the front. I just hope it's not one of those races where they all look at each other and are like, all right, well, we all want the lead. We'll just see who goes out there and then we'll sit off. If that's the case, then Moni, or whatever the horse's name is, won't be money. He'll be crap. But I don't see that happening. I see in terms of the 8-1 morning lines, like you see JP Hellish, who's going to be on the lead. If JP Hellish was the other way around and was closing, I'd want the 3. I just think this race sets up differently for the 2 8-1s. I think we agree the 6, 7, and 10 are probably the horses that you want. But I'll take a long shot just because of the speed. Did you factor that in at all? Because Moni has 0 and Robbie Alvarado, he couldn't ride a 1-horse race right now. So did you factor Moni or whatever the horse's name in at all?
Yeah, I'll just run through a few of these real quick. And yeah, Dennis, I agree. I didn't like Moni. Sorry, Ricky. I couldn't get there with Moni. Let's see. Any thought on the 4 Ballistico? I think the horse has got a shot. I just think, on the time form numbers was just a tad slower than the rest of them. But it's definitely a horse that if you want to throw in a long shot, I wouldn't hate you for it. And then another question, what about the 8, turning back in distance and dropping in class? Super Jaguar is a horse I've followed for a long, long time. I don't know that we're going to see his best races anymore. I think they're a little bit behind him. Again, it's a horse that does have some back class, but it just, I don't know. Like 2 races back did win, but it was at a $20,000 claiming level. They moved him up to a starter allowance. He didn't do much. I know it was a 1.5 miles, but 3 races back, $25,000 claimer going a mile, got beat. 7.5 furlongs, 4 races back, got beat pretty badly. I couldn't get there with the 8. No, I couldn't. One horse I want to ask you about. It's the 3rd choice on the board. Neither one of us have it. It's the 9, Man of Vision. Ricky, why is this horse 7-2 on the morning line? Never touched turf, moving up in class.
Man of Vision's out.
Oh, Man of Vision scratched. Okay.
Yeah, it's MT. Yeah, sorry, I didn't say that. Man of Vision was an MTO.
Okay. Oh, well, that's why. Okay.
Yeah. So the 1 plenum and the 9 Man of Vision. The 9 is the MTO, but the 1 plenum is the one that's actually scratched.
Got it.
So I'll talk on a few of these real quick. Any thought on the 4? I don't know what to do with this horse because it's one of those things where it's like there's going to be a lot of speed, and I don't think he's good enough to hang around. Can he set the perfect trip and maybe be like 5th? Fine, but he's only done well against claimers, and now it's at Gulfstream Park West. They've been sprinting. Now they go back to 2 turns. I could do without this one.
Sorry.
No. Yeah, you're good. Intervention time, Robbie Alvarado sucks. I mean, I have nothing to add other than I agree. I mean, that's why it's not my top horse. What about the 8 turning back in distance? Yeah, I don't know. Looks like a claiming horse, probably a little bit too tough. Paul Kopaj, I think I'm saying that right, is fine. I this is too tough. Dennis goes, way to go. Yeah, he's trying to, he gets on blinkers off, controls the show, and he comes here. And no, I expect Ricky to do that, not you. Yeah, that's fair. That's probably something I would do.
The sheet I have doesn't have scratches on it that I'm looking at. So I was like, what the hell?
Are you're looking at time form?
I look at time form, and it doesn't list if they're MTO or not either. So it's like, what the hell? I lost my mind because I was like, why didn't I use this either? So
yeah, no. I think for the sake of the conversation, if the 9 were to run on the dirt, we'd probably be singling that horse. So,
right.
Yeah, the 1 and the 9 are out. Let's move on to the last race. And this is I think a good one. Allowance optional claiming $25,000 for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upward, going 1 mile on the turf. So 8 furlongs, 2 turns. Thank you guys for running a race that makes sense. None of this about 7.5 furlongs nonsense. There are a few scratches I'll get to right now. The 2 Lobby is an MTO. Obviously not going to run here. And the 5, Get Rewarded. That was a scratch that I definitely think affected both of us. I don't want to speak for Aaron. Definitely affected me, but I would assume it affected him as well. I'll start here, and I because I told Aaron before, I said I was all in on Get Rewarded, probably going to go 1, maybe 2 deep. I had to go 4 deep now because this race just opened up. I'm not going to touch on all of them. I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to give Aaron a chance to take a couple instead of giving all of them. I'll pick the 2 that I want to talk about. I'll talk about the 2 horses towards the outside. The 6, Beam of Light. This is interesting because I was really excited to see this horse cut back a little bit. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what happened last time out. It just kind of seems like a horse. She seems like a kind of horse that I don't want at a short price, but I don't think she's that bad. So this was one of those situations I wouldn't have included her with Get Rewarded, but I look at some of the other top choices that I'm not going to talk about. I'll let Aaron do it. I don't think she's that much worse. So I think this is a price that I want. If she can repeat the race 2 starts back, she's good enough to win. I don't know what happened last time out. Mike Trembetta's had an okay go of it, but Edgar Zayas doesn't hop off. He could have hopped on something else, on another runner, potentially. So that was decent. The other one is the 8, All Come True. I just think this horse, off that layoff, what are we talking, 14 months? I mean, what do you expect her to do? I'll be honest, I don't know what the heck she was facing in France. I'll be the first to admit it. I don't know what type of runners those are. Neither do we. But I've gotten burned by Graham Motion before. I don't think a horse like that ever should have gone off as the favorite, personally. It says 2.6 to 1, so that's just a little right around 5 to 2. If you want to bet a horse of a 14-month layoff at 5 to 2, well, good luck. I don't care who you are. I really don't care who you are. But I think Graham Motion says, all right, we could try her back at the spot. And now we don't know. I don't know what her training pattern was prior to. I don't know if she'd been training when she came over, but at least we know Graham Motion has now had her for almost 2.5 months. I expect her to be much, much better. Javier Castellano gets aboard. This looks like a horse where maybe not a top choice, but has to be included on the ticket for all the reasons I mentioned. She should be much, much better now. And Graham Motion, even off that bad effort, says, I'm going to throw her back in here. I'll let you get to your horses. There were a few that I didn't touch on. Aaron, I'll throw it to you and kind of give us a few horses that you liked.
Yeah, so I went trifecta box in the card here with the 1, the 4, the 6, and the 10. The 10 horse to me is really interesting. I thought this horse woke up in such a big way last time out. And usually when you get to this spot at Gulfstream, okay, you broke your maiden at Gulfstream Park West in a maiden special weight. Now you're up here and you run in against allowance at regular Gulfstream. It's like, yeah, too big of a jump. But gets Ortiz aboard 12 to 1. I'm all about the 10. I put the 10 on top. The 4 I thought was interesting. Hotsy Totsy, a big layoff, but that doesn't bother me so much with Christophe Clement. I don't know. I think the 4 is going to run pretty well today. Pretty well spotted. I think it's a pretty good comeback race. I'm very interested to see what the 4 does, because the 4 at times showed a little bit of talent, not maybe what you would want to see, but also best race that the 4 ever finished in the United States was on this racetrack. So I thought the 4 was very interesting. The 1 followed the flag, second off the layoff, right? I mean, that's where you're going to have to hope for the improvement. The 1 did win at a mile over this track last year. And now, first time out, last time just wasn't great, but like I said, second off the layoff, I think it's one you got to look at. You think it's one you got to look at. So I think we're in agreement there. And then you covered Beam of Light pretty well, and that was my 4th choice, and I totally agree. And look, 2 back, Get Rewarded, beat this horse, but now Get Rewarded's out. So who I obviously had, you did as well. So I'll take Beam of Light now.
Yeah, I think, again, this race, I touched on it at the beginning of when we were talking about this race. Get Rewarded was a horse that I thought was going to be pretty strong. The mare by Get Stormy. But But when she came out, this race really opened up. I think it can go a lot of directions. Really quick, let's touch on a few of these comments. Dennis says, I like the 2-horse. Dennis, you could probably go hop aboard the 2-horse in the barn, because I think that was a joke. But yeah, not running an MTO. So another comment, she's 8-1 on the 6. 8-1, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, I think a race last time out, if you want to chalk that up as I don't know what happened. Sure, that's not a great way to handicap, but I agree. I don't know what happened, but 8-1, if she can run that race that Get Rewarded ran, like Aaron just said, there's nothing wrong with her. So unless she's just gotten bad form all of a sudden, and we'll find out. If she runs poorly again, then maybe the form is starting to turn. Is the one follow the flag dangerous from the rail? That's why I liked her, not from the second off the layoff, which is a fair point. Can't argue with that. Some horses really do well on the rail, and her one start on the rail, and you could see 2 starts back, if you're looking at a normal regular program, the first number is the gate position. There's a 1 there on the turf. So maybe she's just comfortable not having another runner to her inside. I don't know. Again, can't really communicate with the horses, but it's possible. And I wouldn't be surprised to see her show a little bit more speed. Like Aaron said, second off the layoff. They tend to be a little bit more in tune with what's going on. Not running since April 19th, 2020 to January 3rd, 2021. That's like, what's 8, 9 months, something like that. So, yeah, I expect her to be better. And then the last comment, the 10. How do you not go with her? Facing winners for the first time is a problem. The other thing is, she might get hung out wide. This is a horse that wants to be on the lead or near the lead. If she doesn't get that, she's going to be close to last. Not one of her races indicates she can close. That's part 2. Part 3, not having run since November 27th. Why? I mean, this race has come up before. If you're, Aaron taught me this and Jared taught me this, if you are a specialist, like a 5-furlong turf specialist, those races don't come up necessarily all the time in terms of, like, if you want a non-graded stakes, you might have to wait for that. Like a race like this, there must have been something wrong for this runner not to come back. I think this is a pretty tough ask for a horse racing against winners for the first time. Aaron, I'll throw it to you. Is that why you didn't like the 10, or did you just think this race had too many other contenders with some 10?
10 is my top pick, so I actually really like the 10. Like I said earlier. I listen. I definitely wholeheartedly disagree with the post position being a problem. I think you just ride her out of the gate and get her to the lead. I do agree with and it was the big red flag, and why we're not going to get 12-1, but why I'm going to need 5-6-1 on this horse to actually bet it to win. A horse at this level wins like that, really impressive, earns a career high figure, and then it takes 83 days to see that horse back. Overall, that is a negative sign. So I do totally agree with you on that point. But I do think if this horse liked to stalk the pace or sit mid-pack, I would hate the 10 hole. But the 10 with a horse with early speed, for me, I just think ride the horse out of the gate, and within a couple of seconds, it's not going to matter if the horse broke from the parking lot or from the rail. The horse will be forwardly placed. And you could say the same way for a speed horse. If they have trouble breaking from the gate, it doesn't really matter what post they're at, they're going to be screwed from that point on. So when I see a speed horse drawn out that wide, as long as they've shown the ability to clear the field in the past, I don't really worry about it. And that's what this horse has done. But yeah, the 83 days since we've seen this one, it's a problem.
Yeah, no, for some reason, I asked you the question, like we both didn't like this 10 horse. For some reason, I didn't hear you talk about the 10. Maybe I was caught up on another horse. So I do apologize for that. I would have asked the question. Yeah. And then someone said, Nair Bet shows Junior Alvarado now aboard. I think someone mentioned earlier, we talked about it, that Jose is off his mounts, right? So I guess it's Junior Alvarado now. That would affect Aaron. That wouldn't affect me. I didn't use the 10. But yeah, I think Jose Ortiz might be off all his mounts. Maybe Aaron could find that out for us or confirm either way.
I don't think you listen when I talk because I said Jose Ortiz is off all mounts like 20 minutes ago. So he's had 5 mounts today. He's off every one of them. We talked about it in the 7th race and now in the 10th race. But Junior Alvarado gets on instead of Jose Ortiz. For me, and you watch this show, fine. That's great. There couldn't be a better jockey that could have picked up this mount for me than Junior Alvarado. So, in some cases, though, make sure to keep an eye on it. I'll just go ahead and read it. In the first race, it'll be Miguel Vasquez instead of Jose Ortiz. In the 3rd race, Tyler Gaffleone jumps aboard. In the 6th race, Junior Alvarado will take the mount. And in the 7th race, Paco Lopez. So those are the fill-in riders for Ortiz today. And again, I've been trying to find out. I don't know exactly why, but I'm still scanning Twitter looking for the reasoning.
Yeah. So Aaron will try to do that. So he just gave all the rider switches. Again, you can always go to Equibase, check that out. You can go to your betting site and it'll give you whatever you want to do. It's very easy to find. Or if you just watch the track feed, they'll scroll that at the bottom as well. Again, tons of options. Real quick before we wrap up, how about the 9 Sharp Workout? This horse at this level finished 11th by 11.5. Sure, Sharp Workout. You know, could just be a workout horse. Ask Bob Baffert about workout horses. We'll ask him about Bezos. So yeah, Aaron, you want to touch on the 9 real quick?
Yeah, I don't like that now Ortiz is gone and Edgar Prado jumps aboard. And that's not a knock on Edgar Prado, but it's Irad would get back if maybe he thought this horse was going to run well today. I couldn't get there with the 9. I threw that one out pretty quick.
Yeah, it's also not to kind of disparage anyone. Jose Corrales has 5 runners. None of them have hit the board.
Mm-hmm.
If that horse beats me, then it is what it is. So everyone, thank you for your comments there. We're going to recap yesterday really, really quick. Aaron and I talked about it yesterday. We're going to try to make this short because it was really, really dreadful, to be honest. We knew early on that the 10, Socially Astray, I think I'm getting that horse right, had no chance of winning because it was all favorites going down. No long shots. This felt like a Saratoga day, the graveyard of favorites yesterday at Gulfstream Park. Real quick, this was a race 7. It was a starter allowance, and I came on here yesterday and I said I didn't like the 4 as a heavy favorite because I didn't think the 4 was that much better. Personally, a lot of people take a look. I think the 4, the 6, and the 9, I believe, off the top of my head, were MTOs. So a lot of people went that way. With the 1 legal deal and the 2 long blade took money, Paco and Irad. Anything you want to touch on other than thank goodness I bought this race and I didn't?
Yeah, the right decision. What was going on with the 4 in the race? You're out of the race. You can't even see the horse. You watch the chicklets and it's it's just dropping back and back and back. It's okay, well, I guess it's not going to run. And then the 3 horses cross the line in a blanket, and then there's the 4 flying. I don't know what happened. This was a terrible race.
Yeah, real quick, on a football news note, Carson Wentz is going to the Colts. If anyone cares or is interested, maybe we're breaking news to you. If we are, then that's great. So yes, that trade is being done. Yeah, Miles Ahead should be named to Miles Behind. He was horrible. I don't know what the heck was going on with that horse. There's nothing else to talk about other than thank goodness I bought the race. I thought I was in good shape. Let's move on. Let's move on to the 8th race here. Sorry, I scrolled a little bit past. I didn't like this horse at all, the 3 Subsidiary. I took a few. I took the 1. I took the 4 Sassy Justice, and I took the 8 Brooks All Mine. I thought Brooks All Mine was really the horse to beat. Based on what we saw at the beginning or the first half of the card, we should have eliminated all favorites. I did quick research. Only 2 of the 10 favorites have won yesterday. A bunch finished second, but when you're trying to advance on tickets, coming in second doesn't help. What did you think of this race? We were all I think you used the 8 also, right? Brooks All Mine.
Mhm.
What did you think of this race, and how surprised were you to see Irad win again?
Yeah, I just couldn't get there. I just couldn't get there with this horse, and maybe it's done with Irad aboard. This was Gulfstream when it gets off the turf. It's either really chalky or out of control, where you just couldn't get to any of the horses. And for me yesterday, I just couldn't get to any of them. And this was another one. I certainly didn't like the 2 either. And that horse almost won, ran well. Again, it was just a swing and miss. I looked back at this race afterwards. I looked back at the whole card because it was awful for me. And I was like, I wouldn't have played this horse, and I wouldn't have played it at 4-1 for sure. So what do you do in that situation? You're just wrong.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where, like, if you can go back and say you should have had that horse, then that's a bad feeling. If you go back and say I wouldn't have had the horse anyway, whether he was even money or 100-1, then you shouldn't feel as bad. You could feel bad you didn't get it right, but not as bad. Let's move on to race 9. This was another one that we pretty much talked, I guess, this one into the winner's circle because we didn't like Sweet Pearl. I had no part of this one at all. I used a few of them. I wasn't in on Sunny Isle Beach either, who was the favorite. I was shocked to see Sunny Isle Beach go off as the favorite. Yeah. I used the 2, 3, 9, and 10, so I did pretty well there, finishing 3 through 6. So that's always nice. I just want to end this recap. So, Aaron, I'll take it to you. This is one of the worst recaps I've ever done. Aaron, I'll let you take it away with this one.
This is another one. I had the 1, I had the 3, but I never even considered using the 6. So it's just like I don't know what I could have done. Again, I looked back and I was like, I don't see it. And I'm with you. Why was the 1 favored? I didn't get that either. And then the 3, who I thought, well, that horse is for sure going to run well, was awful. And then the 2, who Pletcher leaves in, it comes off the turf. Pletcher leaves in. It's like, well, that horse will at least run decent. The 2 never even picked up its feet. So this race was just like, at this point, I'm just like, I can't watch another race at Gulfstream. Unfortunately, I did, Ricky, and it was the 10th race.
Yeah. Luckily for me, I didn't watch it live. I came back. I was out last night, came back and watched the replay. It's tough to, I'll be honest, I use TVG. It's kind of tough to sometimes watch the replay without getting the results. Sometimes it just pops up, and maybe that's just the app, or maybe I click something. But I saw Hardly Social didn't win before. I don't know what the heck this horse did. I have no idea. This horse, well, I shouldn't say he. This filly must have thought that the race was over after 6 furlongs. Just completely fell apart. And Aaron said it best, before the show. I thought she was kind of gone, like going to be clear. And it says, in the comment, 4 wide, cleared 3/8, caught at the 8th pole. All right, problem there. You're not caught at the 8th pole when you lose by 3 1/4. Sorry, that's not caught. To me, caught, and I said it, I told Aaron, and he maybe agreed or whatever, whether he agreed or not, 2 lengths or less. That's caught. Caught is like at the now granted, it didn't say caught at the wire, which would have been worse. Caught at the 8th pole, I don't think caught is proper. Again, whoever makes the TrackMan comments, I'm not sure who it is. I disagree. I usually agree with a lot of them. This one I disagree with because you're not caught and lose by 3 1/4. That means you weren't close. Granted, so Hardly Social beat the 16 I'm a Cocoa Pebbles by a parking lot's distance. Thank goodness we didn't bet that horse. That horse was disgusting. Never would have gotten to the 2 one night stand. Good name though. Got to include that. But at the same time, Hardly Social is supposed to win that race. I know 4 to 5 is a horrible price, but Aaron said something that was interesting before, and I did as well. Oh, someone real quick. Jose's serving out his suspension. Yeah. Okay, so that's good information. So one of the things real quick to wrap up, Aaron said before, we weren't getting to one night stand. Like, I wasn't going to. Aaron just said, do not play the 16, which I was smart enough not to do that. What did you think of this race? At least we were smart enough to get rid of the 16 out of there.
Well, I thought Turner for home. I said, well, at least we're going to salvage something because we said the 10 would roll and he's going to roll and then just quit. So it was like, well, that's a fitting way to end a very disgusting day for both of us, handicapping wise. And you're right, the 2, it's enough. I don't want to like just repeat myself over and over. I never would have got to it. I didn't like the 2, I liked him better than the 16. I like the 16 about last. By the way, the 16 is a freaking idiot, right? Like the horse is up the backside, like goes in between 3 horses, checks hard, like way out of the race all of a sudden. Like that horse is just a mess. But I may hate the 10 even worse because there was no excuse there. The 10 turned for home. If you haven't seen this race, watch it. The 10 is turning for home, and you're like, this horse is going to win by the length of the stretch. And by the time they hit the straightaway, he's behind almost. It's just like he may not finish the race. It was really something.
Luckily, she was so far ahead of the 16 that it didn't matter. Because if there was a blanket finish or an onrush of a few other runners, she could have been off the board.
Could have been.
I can't believe the TrackMan comment said caught at the 8th pole. No, it should have said checked up or stopped. It should have said stop.
Yeah.
Or folded or something. I don't know. Caught, it means the horse was running well, got caught. That's what caught means. Again, I'm not a wizard, a word wizard. I know what the word caught means. Real quick, Mark says the only angle he had was the 2 was the name. Yeah, if we want to bet names, I guess we could do a whole show about taking horses with great names. I don't know how successful that's going to be. I've seen that at Saratoga before. You see some uneducated people bet names, they bet colors, they bet jockey nicknames, some of the weirdest stuff. They'll flip a coin. Real quick, so the emoji for X is the Syracuse game that was canceled last night. I know there were a few Louisville comments rooting for me to lose, so I appreciate that. But yeah, again, the weather has just been crazy. That wasn't a weather-related cancellation. That was a COVID. So between COVID and the weather, 2021 is not off to a fast-flying start. It wasn't January, February. I don't know. It's slowing down. Hopefully things pick up. We said yesterday this is a breather in terms of the Kentucky Derby Trail. So again, like I said yesterday, go out, enjoy yourself. If you're in a warm weather place, do some yard work, do something, try to be productive. Real quick, everyone, there's only 3 tracks. Aaron said there's what we have. Gulfstream, we have Turf Paradise, and we have Fairgrounds. Fairgrounds has been on the turf since I graduated high school, it feels like. So, so the pools will be big at Gulfstream. We could promise you that, because if you're interested in playing the horses, and we know a lot of you guys are playing every day or almost every day, whatever the case is, your options are limited. Unless you want to go play something outside of the country, your options are limited. And based on some of the jockey comments I got, there were people, I think, betting races from Mexico and outside. So, so everyone, Aaron, real quick before we sign off, any notes you want to add, anything we didn't touch on, anything to keep an eye on today, anything like that?
Yeah, I guess just programming notes. Later on today, Magic Mike Show will be on at 5:30 Eastern, and then Blinkers Off will be on at 8 Eastern. And then we'll be back here tomorrow. Ricky, we got to do Gulfstream because we got to do something that we know is going to run. So
let's go to Santa Anita.
We could do that. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I think we should. Not only because we had a really I thought we had a fun time with Magic, and let's switch it up. We try to do Gulfstream Wednesday and Thursday. The best will be when we go to Saratoga, which will be over the summer. Then we will be doing Saratoga every single day, Wednesday through Friday, and you might even see us pop in on a Saturday or Sunday. We'll see. Especially on some of the bigger days. Mark says there's no school in St. Louis for the 7th straight day. With this whole COVID and snow thing, it's like they really don't want kids to learn or be interactive. I shouldn't say learn, be interactive, which I think is important for a youngster, especially 8 to 10, 12, 14-year-olds. It's important for them to be with other kids. For us, we're adults. I'm a half adult. Aaron's a full adult. It's not as big of a deal, but like on a serious note, if you're a young kid, it's important for them to be interacting with other young kids and fooling around and stuff like that. So it does stink.
I love the Ricky Pasternak father advice on the show. Like, you don't beat your kids, or if you're going to beat them, just hit them once and not 4 or 5 times. And now we're talking about how school is important. So
yeah, well,
that's really why people tune in.
That's possible. I know Magic mentioned something about that. He said he's happy he gets his parenting advice here. Yeah, it's like the same thing. I never understood the whip rule. It's like 6 times, right? The horse is going to be instantly damaged on the 7th strike or 7th whip or 7th hit, whatever you want to call it, right? So 1 through 6 is irrelevant, but on that 7th one, that horse is going down without a fight. Yeah, I don't really get that, especially when all the other states and tracks don't abide by that. That's also interesting. So with that being said, we will attack Santa Anita 99%. Maybe there's a race at Gulfstream or something that Aaron's like, I want to talk about this. Maybe we'll head back to Gulfstream. 99% Santa Anita. So take a look at your PPs before, however you do that. We will be at Santa Anita. The weather's pretty good in California these days, so we assume they will be running. If they're not running, we'll be going to Gulfstream. I don't see that happening. I'm sure Magic will send me a picture of the radar within 30 seconds from now. So yeah, plenty of Racing Dudes action. Magic Mike, I don't know what sequence they're covering. You'll find that out there. Maybe Aaron knows, maybe he doesn't. They rotate a lot. And then blinkers off. So at what'd you say? Blinkers off, what is that? 8 tonight?
8 o'clock. Yep.
8 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock their time. So yeah, plenty of action, plenty of coverage if you guys want any more information. And again, check out Aaron's quick article on 1 through 20 Kentucky Derby contenders. Bring some questions on tomorrow if you have any questions or comments about his list, or you could tell us why his list sucks. That's fine too. We could talk about it tomorrow. Everyone stay safe. Take care. We will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Unfortunately, we won't have scratches at that moment, so we'll just go off what we have. But we will see you guys at 11 covering Arcadia, California, Santa Anita on Friday, February 19th. Take care, everyone.